And today we are going to learn everything about investment basics, how to become an investor with Michael. Michael has a vast experience in finance. He has a bachelor degree in engineering from Colombia. He also has a PhD in financial markets from Wollongong, and he has been living in Australia for more than 10 years. Michael has a passion to empower other professionals and sharing his knowledge. He also loves walking and reading.
And dancing.
And dancing, of course, and playing basketball. Michael, thank you so much for being with us today. We are honored to have you to share with us all your knowledge. I personally don't know anything about investment. Then I'm really looking forward to learn from you today, and I'm sure every guest that is joining with us this seminar is willing to learn a lot.
No, thanks for inviting me. And I think this presentation today is going to be for people like you without any sort of financial background. So I'm going to make it very easy for you guys to understand. But I guess the first reason that I want to show you guys is, if you think about it, like, why do you need to invest? Why don't you just leave the money in the bank and that's it, right? And leave it there and use it when you actually need to use the money. And in my opinion, there are two reasons why you should never leave the money in the bank. One of them is called inflation. So I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of inflation before. Inflation pretty much measures how fast prices of goods are increasing. So if you go to the Woolies or Coles today, and if you want to buy milk, and the bottle of milk is $1, but then you go at the end of the year and you notice that it's not $1 anymore, but it's $2, that is what we call inflation. And the effect that inflation has on your money is that your money is losing value, right? So let's say right now you have $10,000 sitting in your bank account. And you say, okay, I'm not going to use that money. I'm just going to leave it in my bank account. What's going to happen is after 1 year, at the current inflation rate that we have right now of 5%, that $10,000 is only going to be worth $9,500. So your money, without doing anything, is actually losing $500, right? So that's that's the inflation rate that we have in Australia. In the US, inflation rate right now is 7%. It's even higher. So that's the first thing that you need to consider. Whatever money you have in the bank right now is losing value. And 1 year from now, it's not worth the same. And the second reason why you should invest is what we call compound interest, right? Compound interest means, in Colombia, we have a say that money makes more money. That's pretty much what compound interest means. Whatever money you have, if you invest it properly, you are going to make more money in the future, but by not doing pretty much anything at all. So I give you an example here. If you have 10,000 right now, if you have 10,000 right now in your bank account and you invest it properly at an annual rate of 15%, which is not crazy, it's actually pretty reasonable. In 20 years, that $10,000 is going to become $163,000 without you doing much anything. Pretty much just by investing it properly, you will go from $10,000 to $160,000. So these are the two main reasons why whatever money you have in the bank, you should think it twice before leaving it there for too long, because you are losing value, you are losing money, right? Now, what are the main goals? Now we know why you need to invest. What are the main goals of this presentation that I'm going to give you today? Obviously, investing has a lot of stuff, so I'm not going to be able to cover everything, but I'm going to try to cover 3 things. I will be happy if by the end of the presentation, you understand the different options you have for investing. You understand the different investment strategies. And if you understand the different apps, actually know how to use them to place those trades. So first, different products. Second, the strategy. And third, how to actually use the apps to do that, right? Do you guys have any questions up to this stage? If you guys want, I can just go over the questions at the end, or every 2 slides, we can go over some of the questions as well. Now, what is going to be the content of this presentation? So first, I'm going to show you the different investment products, and I'm going to focus on in Australia, because different countries have different products, but I'm just going to talk about stuff that are relevant for you here in Australia. I'm going to explain a little bit why the market is crashing. So if some of you are in the market right now, January would have been really bad for you, because the market crashed quite a lot in January. So I'm going to explain why that's happening and what's going to happen in the future. I'm also going to explain how to build or create a portfolio. So some people, they usually think, oh, I'm just going to put my money here or here. You need to understand that you need to diversify, and diversify means creating a portfolio. So I'm going to explain a little bit in that space. I will explain a little bit of investment strategies, active, passive investment strategies. And finally, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a showcase of different apps that you can actually use for placing those trades and invest. Now, what is an ETF? ETF is the main product that you should be looking at these days. So an ETF is a fund, right? So what is a fund? It pretty much means there is a manager that you will put the money with, and they will use that money to buy different products. Usually they buy stocks for you, right? So they are diversifying for you. So let's say if you put 1,000 into, this is very important as well, guys. Like everything that I'm going to explain right now and today, you can start investing with $20. You don't need to have $10,000 to do any of this. Even if you only have like $10 or $100, that's more than enough for you to start investing, right? So an ETF, which is the main product where I put my money, it's called ETF, and it's pretty much a fund, right? And it's a fund because it has a manager. We call that the fund manager. And what this guy does is invest the money for you. Now, these funds are very easy. You can get in very easily because they are all traded here at the ASX, right? So it takes 5 minutes for you to get into any of these funds. Now, the interesting part here is that these funds, there are many different kinds of ETFs. So I give you an example. You could invest in what is called a gold ETF. You could invest in what is called Latin America ETF. You could invest in what is called the Aussie ETF. Now, what is the difference between all of them? The only difference is, like in the gold ETF, the manager is going to put your money in things that are related to gold. That's what is called a gold ETF. So if for whatever reason you think, oh, in the next 5 years, gold is going to do very well, and you don't want to buy gold, you don't want to buy gold directly, what do? You buy a gold ETF, and the manager is going to diversify the money for you in things that are related to gold. One of my favorite ones is actually the Latin America ETF. What do? They buy stocks that are in Latin America. That includes Colombia, Peru, Mexico, the big ones, right? So I have some of my investment in this one. Why? Because I believe Latin America got hit quite a lot during COVID, but I believe in the future it's going to do very well because it's an economy that is growing very fast. Aussie ETF, I also have a lot of my investment in Aussie ETF. What do? They buy stocks that are placed here in Australia, like CBA, ANZ, all of the big banks, all of these companies. I'm also putting quite a lot of money here. Why? Because the Australian economy is actually placed right now in a very good position compared to other economies, and it's doing really well. And I think in the future, it's going to continue doing quite well. So that's the first and most important actually instrument that you should think of, and that I wanted to show you is the ETF. I'm going to